When a man hurts a good woman, he doesn't just hurt her, he plants a seed of destruction in his own life. It may not be visible immediately, but over time, the effects become unavoidable. The act of betraying, neglecting, or breaking a woman who has given nothing but love and loyalty comes with consequences that cannot be escaped. Here's a shocking fact. Psychologists have found that people who harm supportive partners often report long-term emotional dissatisfaction, even when they move on to new relationships. The very act of mistreating someone genuine leaves a mark on the psyche. It becomes a hidden wound that follows them into every new chapter of life. In other words, the pain they created doesn't just disappear, it transforms into their own suffering. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." When a man hurts a good woman, he may try to justify it, deny it, or forget it. But his actions have already defined him, and his subconscious mind will carry that truth. The law of karma is simple. What you put into the world eventually returns to you. And when what you give is pain, pain is what you'll receive. Today, we are going to talk about what happens when a man hurts a good woman, and how the law of karma reveals itself in his life. Stay until the end of the video, because the last point might shock you. It's something most people never consider, but it's often the deepest form of karma. Let's dive in. Point 1. The loss of true emotional support. The first consequence is losing the deepest source of emotional support he will ever know. A good woman isn't just a partner, she's a sanctuary. She's the one who listens without judgment, encourages him when he doubts himself, and stands beside him when the world feels heavy. Psychology calls this emotional scaffolding, the invisible support structure that keeps a person balanced and resilient. When he hurts her, that structure collapses. At first, he might not notice. He may even feel a sense of freedom, as if he's regained control. But the absence of her steady presence creeps in slowly. During difficult times, when he looks for someone who truly understands him, he realizes that no one compares. Carl Jung noted that the loss of balance in the psyche often leads to the shadow taking over. Without her grounding influence, the darker sides of his personality, anger, insecurity, pride, grow stronger. And then, regret begins to sink in. What he dismissed as ordinary was actually extraordinary, and once lost, it rarely returns. That realization is his first taste of karma. Point 2. The weight of guilt and subconscious punishment. The second consequence is guilt. Neuroscience shows that guilt activates the same brain pathways as physical pain. In other words, when someone betrays or mistreats a partner, the brain eventually codes it as suffering. He might distract himself with work, friends, or even a new relationship, but the subconscious doesn't forget. Carl Jung believed that repressed emotions control us from the shadows. That's why many men who hurt good women become restless. They feel empty in moments of quiet. They struggle with irritability, discontent, or dissatisfaction in new relationships, even when everything looks fine on the surface. This is the invisible karma. He may look like he's thriving on the outside, but deep inside, he knows what he did. And that knowledge weighs on him like a silent punishment he cannot escape. Point 3. The cycle of broken relationships. The third consequence is a cycle of broken relationships. Research in attachment theory reveals that people who sabotage healthy bonds often carry that self-destructive pattern into the future. By betraying someone who is genuine, a man sets himself up to fear intimacy, to distrust loyalty, and to avoid vulnerability. The subconscious message he carries is, if I hurt her, others can hurt me too. This creates a ripple effect. He attracts relationships that are shallow, transactional, or toxic. The more he tries to escape, the more he repeats the same mistakes. This reminds me of the Greek myth of Narcissus. Narcissus rejected true love and became cursed to fall in love with his own reflection, something he could never truly have. In the same way, a man who breaks the heart of a good woman often ends up chasing illusions of love, but never experiencing the depth and truth he once had. That is karma in action. Point 4. The loss of respect and reputation. Karma doesn't only work in silence, it also works in how others perceive him. When a man hurts a woman of good character, people notice. Friends, family, even acquaintances begin to shift their opinion. His reputation takes a hit, whether he realizes it or not. Social psychology research shows that once someone loses credibility, it's one of the hardest things to repair. Even if he tries to change later, people remember the betrayal more than the apology. Carl Jung's words echo here. You are what you do. And what he did becomes his identity in the eyes of others. This loss of respect affects more than just image. Opportunities shrink, relationships become fragile, and trust is harder to build. In many ways, his future narrows because of choices he made in the past. That's another form of karma, one that shapes his social destiny. Point 5. Facing loneliness and emptiness. The fifth consequence is loneliness. Not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from being surrounded by people yet feeling deeply empty. A good woman doesn't just fill time, she fills a man's soul. When he loses her, he creates a void that no one else can easily replace. Research on long-term happiness consistently shows that deep, stable relationships are the greatest predictor of life satisfaction. Without that, people often feel a sense of hollowness, no matter how much money, success, or status they achieve. For the man who hurt a good woman, new relationships may come, but they often feel shallow compared to the depth he once knew. This is a quiet but devastating karma, realizing too late that he traded real love for illusions, and that emptiness becomes his lifelong companion. Point 6. The spiritual law of return. Finally, the deepest form of karma is spiritual. Every action carries energy, and when you harm someone who offered pure love, that energy doesn't vanish, it circles back. Carl Jung described this in the principle of synchronicity, the way outer events mirror inner states. Put simply, what you send out will eventually return to you. Hurting a good woman sets off a chain reaction. Sometimes it comes back through another broken relationship, sometimes through betrayal, and sometimes through losses in other parts of life. Karma doesn't care about timing, it only cares about balance. The truth is this: the energy of genuine love is powerful. When it's betrayed, it doesn't disappear. It transforms into lessons, and those lessons always find their way back to the one who caused harm. So, when a man hurts a good woman, he doesn't just hurt her. He writes his own fate. He loses emotional support, suffers guilt, repeats destructive cycles, loses respect, faces loneliness, and ultimately, the law of karma ensures that the pain he caused returns to him. If this message touched you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. And I'd love to hear from you. Do you believe in karma in relationships? And have you ever witnessed it play out? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your story might help someone else heal. Remember this: a good woman's love is not ordinary. It is rare, powerful, and transformative. Losing it through betrayal isn't just a mistake. It's a spiritual wound that changes the course of a man's destiny. And to every good woman watching right now, please know this: your kindness was never wasted. Even if someone failed to see your worth, the universe keeps records. Your love mattered, your effort mattered, and the pain you went through is never forgotten by the greater balance of life. See you in the next video.